Hey everyone, it's Distant here. This is going to be the first of my surf guides. I'm going to show you guys how to Awp Dropshot in this video, and then I'm going to explain why it works, how to set it up for yourself, and why having Awp Dropshot through plugins is really unbalanced, and how it fucks with the balance of other weapons as well, and overall why it's just a bad idea. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you guys what it looks like when you drop shot normally with an op, just by pressing S after going off the surf ramp. As you can see, it's extremely blurry. You're not going to hit anyone with that because it's so inaccurate. But if you set it up like I do, it's actually really accurate, and you can hit people pretty consistently with it. So as you can see, I could hit that button still with that accuracy, which is nice. So we're going to go over why that worked. Now, first things first, we gotta understand how plus strafe works. So plus strafe, if you didn't already know, plus strafe, that is a command you can use to move with your mouse instead of your keyboard. So, as you can see, I'm moving my mouse right now, and it looks really weird, but I'm moving with my mouse. If I set my sensitivity to 40, I can move pretty fast. As you can see, it looks sort of like I'm just normally walking. If I set it to 2, which is what I was showing before, it's a lot slower now. I'm not moving as fast. Now if I set it to something really low, like 0.01, I can't even move left and right anymore. But I can still move in the air, especially when I already have speed. So, see, I turn a little, just barely. That's important. So what you want to do is when you have that set up, you want to have a bind to toggle on plus strafe, show your position, and then change your sensitivity all in one. So right now I have this bound to Q. As soon as I press Q, if I keep holding it, it turns on the show pause, just my sensitivity is 0.01, it changes my plus strafe status to 1. And then as soon as I let go of it, it turns off show pause, then it turns off strafe, and then it turns my sensitivity back to normal. So how do you use this then? That's the question. I'll go over that too, because when I did that drop shot there, I don't think a single person caught what I was doing. So, in slow motion, I drop with S normally, my speed's 42, I move my mouse in circles while holding the Q key, it lowers my velocity to really low, I scope in, the op is basically a scout now at this point. At the height of my jump, I shoot, extremely accurate. It's not going to be 100% accurate, it's only going to be accurate within the constraints of the server, which means the lower the weapon underscore air spread, more accurate it'll be. So right now this is set at 4, which is what I want to have it set to. The lower it is, the more accurate it will be, and that's simply because that's what handles how accurate weapons are. Turn this off, I can't surf like this. That's what handles how accurate weapons are. So if you look, when I have 0 velocity, just jumping up and down like this, if I scope in, I'm still pretty accurate. That's as accurate as you can get while you're in the air with an op. That's pretty damn accurate. So now we gotta go over why this way of balancing drop shot with op is better than doing it with a plugin. Even with it being so obscure and hard to do. Wow, I just edge bugged. Okay, so when you have an op and you can kill people in one shot, you have to be really careful how you balance that shit. If you just do whatever with it and you leave it how it is, you won't really run into any problems. But if you start changing things like the mobility of it and stuff like that, the spread for it, it gets really strong really fast. So for example, if I am sitting on top of jail right there, and I come around with an op, and I decide to W strafe and drop shot that person with a plugin on, they're dead. As long as I didn't leg them, which would be requiring that I'm bad, as long as I didn't leg them, they're dead at that point. Now with a scout, that's not a problem. As they're coming up with a scout, you have two opportunities to engage them. You have the opportunity to engage them while they're in the air, still moving, which is difficult. But if they're going to get a headshot on you no matter what, then you have to do it that way. So you have equal opportunity and equal difficulty of engagement. It's hard to shoot someone in the air. It's also hard to headshot someone right after moving. Now, that's balanced. It's both the same difficulty, and they both have equal opportunity to kill each other. Now, if I have an op and I'm doing or I should slow down. If I have a scout and I stop in the air right there, and I do survive until I stop, and I don't headshot them, they won't take enough damage to die in one hit, which means the person right here can shoot that person as they stop. Now, that's still equal opportunity. They both have an equal opportunity to kill each other with about the same skill requirement. With an op, it makes it so you have to shoot that person in the air as they're coming up, because as soon as they stop, they're going to counter strafe, they're going to shoot you, and then you're going to die. So you have to shoot them as they're coming up. The difference is, between the scout and op, the person right here is going to have a lot harder time shooting that person coming up than that person with the op is going to have when they stop and try to shoot this person. It's a lot harder to shoot someone in the air than it is to shoot someone standing still on the ground. And that's pretty easy to see. Now, aside from that, the op removes all the usability of the scout when you put a drop shot plugin in. So that means if you can drop shot with an op, there's no point using a scout anymore, because it's just a scout with more zoom and damage. There's no point. So I've seen other servers balance this by giving the scout no spread. Now see, this goes back to the same situation. It's problematic when you do stuff like this. When you give the scout no spread, the person standing there has the same difficulty. The person with the scout isn't going to stop. They're just going to shoot while they're moving, scoped in. So that means you have to shoot them in the air still, and they're basically going to get free damage unless you're extremely good at aiming. Now, on top of that, it removes all usability from the Nova if you give the scout no spread. Now you can start to see the snowball effect of shit that happened just because you balance an op differently. At this point, the Nova, which has restricted range, like really restricted range and decent damage, like, I can't shoot anyone past that white part and do good damage to them. And like, this is like right at the cutoff for decent damage, and that's assuming they don't have armor. If they have armor, like right here is basically where I gotta shoot them from. So with a scout though, it penetrates armor. You can headshot them at any range. You can shoot them at any range. You have a scope, and it has no spread, so you can still be accurate while moving. There's no reason to use a Nova at that point. There really isn't. So the point is in all of this, that one thing that you added, that plugin just to make Awp Dropshot, completely wrecked the balance of the entire game. And assuming you don't put in Scout no spread or alter anything else and just make Awp Dropshot, it's still overpowered. It's still going to be the most powerful thing in the game at that point. I mean, Awp is already the most powerful weapon you can use, and even in Surf Combat, assuming that both players play perfectly, because Awp just has better damage and range than anything else. In a 1v1 situation, if you're going to Awp someone, there's nothing they can do about it unless they're out of range. So, I hope everyone understands what I tried to explain in this video. Before I leave, I'll explain how to set up your config to drop shot with Awp properly. But I really hope that everyone understands why it's extremely unbalanced to have Awp Dropshot as a plugin on your server. Even if everyone is decent, it's still unbalanced. It really is. There's no excuse for it. So now let's go over setting up your config for this. So as you can see in my config, this is basically what you want to have, just this. For Q, you can replace it with any other key. You want to keep this command the same, everything else show pause, you can turn that off, but I wouldn't recommend it. You want to see your velocity when you're trying to hit low velocity. This has to be in this place. Sensitivity, whatever sensitivity you want. Keep 0.01 as the same, but the 2.3, I would just set this to whatever sensitivity you usually use while surfing or aiming, or whatever you would use after a drop shot, because that's what you're going to need it as. As soon as you let go of Q, you're going to be using this sensitivity to aim, so you want the one you're most comfortable with, and that's really all there is to it.